Alright, kid, hand over the money. Wow, kid, you did great. You're probably gonna make it big one day.
Make it big, eh?
No, wait.
New. Yeah! Big boy! Yeah! Quick disclaimer, before we start the episode, here are some translations for words I might say. And if you don't know what that is, then it's the powder that your mom says not to touch, and I'm not talking about the washing up powder. And here are some disclaimers for other types of words I might use. Like that intro? Pretty cool, right? But anyways, many of you probably heard of Pablo Escobar and him being like crazy rich and his many hippos. But we actually see his origins being slightly different to how he conveyed his life as the biggest drug distributor in the 70s to 80s. Born on 1st of December 1949 in Colombia in a small town called Rio Negro, his family soon moved to Medellin and is where Escobar's criminal career begins to take off. One of Pablo Escobar's first criminal ventures was stealing gravestones and sanding them down to sell, and then he moved on to selling counterfeit high school and university diplomas.
Alright, this looks pretty good. Just gonna... there we go.
Pablo then attended university for a year, studying political sciences and wanted to become president of Colombia, but ended up dropping out because he ran out of funds to finish university. Pablo then went on a petty crime spree with a friend called Oscar Benel Aguirre? Running street scams, selling cigarettes, fake lottery tickets, and stealing cars. I like to imagine Pablo's scams looked a little bit like this.
Oh no. Alright. Oh, new email. Urgent big money's right here. Not a scam. Brother? Local brother? I'm a Nigerian brother stuck in Colombia. Can't get out. Due to having no money in access to. When you send me £500 and bank $10 million. What? No way. This is too good to be true. I'm gonna be rich. I'm actually gonna be rich. No way. Okay. Wait. Yeah. Okay. I just want the money. Screw this guy. Give me the money. Here is my bank number. Alright. Oh, my PIN number is 14 hours ago. Oh my god, hopefully it sends back. Hopefully not too late.
Right before entering the drug trade, Pablo Escobar kidnapped a Medellin executive at one point and held him for ransom. And Pablo Escobar sometimes had the tendency to kill hostages anyway, even after the family paid the ransom, which was just the beginning of his ruthlessness.
So we got the money that your family sent you, but I'm suffering from a really big case of itchy trigger finger. So... well, that wasn't supposed to happen.
After some time working for drug traffickers, Pablo Escobar supposedly had Fabio Restrepo assassinated in 1975 and then seized control of his drug empire, and thus the Medellin cartel was born.
Good job on the shipment, Pablo. Now let me turn my back to you so you definitely do not stab me in the back and seize control of my entire drug cartel. Oh my god, you stabbed me in the back. I did not see this coming.
However, Pablo Escobar wasn't alone. He had associates, or co-founders, who were less known, but their names were Carlos Leyder and Robert Vesco. These men vastly improved drug routes to the US through their own planes, which had specific drop-off sites, And the famous drug trafficker Pablo had in his employ was a US pilot named Barry Seal, but unbeknownst to Pablo, was also an informant to the CIA, and when Pablo found out, spoiler alert, he had him executed. In 1976, Pablo Escobar and some of his associates were caught smuggling 18 kilograms of white paste, and this is when Pablo Escobar started using the infamous phrase, plato o plomo, and when the officers refused, he had them, well, let's just say he made them go to forever sleep. And then the charges were soon dropped. When Fontaine powders became insanely popular in the US, around 8 million people were using it due to the rise in popularity of disco and Wall Street brokers closing big deals. Escobar quickly became known for his notoriety in the drug business, as the Medellin cartel controlled most of the supply of fun powder to the US, Mexico, Venezuela, and Spain. He also started using coca leaves from Peru and Bolivia rather than the traditional Colombia leaves, as it was said to have a higher standard. So remember, kids, next time you're not too sure which brand to choose, always choose Bolivian or Peruvian. The more you know. One of Pablo Escobar's greatest fears was being extradited to the US, so anytime he was able to disrupt Colombia's and US's extradition treaty, he took it, which is why some people speculate he was linked to the 1985 storming of the Colombian Supreme Court by the M19 guerrilla fighters, aka the 19th of April movement. But what did they do, you may ask? Well, I'm too lazy to explain, so here, read this entire paragraph. But notably, somehow in all that chaos, a list of people who can be extradited to the US was burnt, and just coincidentally, our main man Pablo himself was on that list. People say it was just a coincidence, but coincidence? I think not. At the height of his power, Pablo Escobar was bringing in $70 million per day, and according to inflation rises, that would be $149.5 million in 2021. In fact, the cartel was earning so much money that they spent over $1,000 to $2,500 on rubber bands. He was so rich, even Forbes magazine put him down as one of the 227 billionaires in the world, saying he had a net worth around $3 billion, around $6 billion now, which makes sense since Pablo Escobar controlled 80% of the global fun powder market. Even though for all the evil acts he has done in his life and business, and being great enemies with the US and Colombian government, the people of Medellin loved him, mainly the poorer people. This was due to Pablo Escobar being a good people person and being extremely generous by donating millions of his immense fortune to build football stadiums, housing projects, and many other civil issues. He was starting to be seen as a Robin Hood kind of figure, but behind the curtain, many lives were lost and more lives were ruined with corruption spreading like wildfire. The cartel, trying to remain on top, made the Colombia become the murder capital of the world, with 25,000 deaths in just 1 year. Pablo Escobar was also a family man when he got married at just 26, but the parents didn't approve of the relationship, when of course the girl was only 15, but just glossing over that fact, they still got married and eloped and had 2 kids. But this didn't stop Pablo Escobar from having affairs. One was with another drug distributor called Griselda Blanco, and in a diary she referred to Pablo Escobar as my coke king. Oh, how cute. And white male chicken. And then she died. And of course, with big money comes owning a lot of properties, land, cars, and other assortments. To be precise, he owned the following. Airstrips, owned a zoo with 200 animals inside, a luxury prison, countless cars, 15 planes, 1 was a Learjet, 6 helicopters, several boats, 2 submarines, dozen luxury houses, a football team, and many vehicles for transporting money and happy powder. No. After Luis Carlos Galán died, the president of Colombia, Cesar Gaviria, moved against Pablo Escobar and his cartel. Pablo Escobar then agreed to surrender under some conditions, which was to be in a prison of his own design and to have a reduced sentence, which the government somehow agreed to. The prison Pablo Escobar was sent to was called La Catedral, and it was a massive understatement to call it a prison. It was more of a luxury hotel with many facilities, and Pablo Escobar was still able to manage his cartel. Also, coincidentally, the extradition of Colombian citizens to the US was banned when Pablo Escobar gave himself up. What a coincidence. They just seemed to be lining up at Pablo's door. But soon, when the government realized Pablo Escobar had broken their deal, they had decided to move Pablo to a more appropriate prison. However, Pablo caught wind of this and simply just walked out of his prison through a fake wall, which he had specifically had built in his prison, amongst other things. So really, Pablo was never really locked up, since there was a gaping exit door for him the whole time.
Just gonna... Yeah. There we go. Well, see ya.
After Pablo Escobar's crazy and daredevil escape of walking out of his prison cell, the US JSOC and Central Spike joined in the manhunt. They even specially trained a special Colombian police task force called Search Block, made to capture Pablo Escobar. Now imagine that they had to bring in SEAL Team 6 and Delta Force and had a team of specially trained people for capturing Pablo Escobar. That's how elusive and dangerous he was. Not even Bin Laden got this much attention.
It's okay, Osama. Maybe next time.
But that's not all. A group called Los Pepes emerged, which consisted of vigilantes who were victims of Pablo Escobar's tyrannical leadership. And these guys were supported by the Cali cartel, whom were rivals of the Medellin cartel. Los Pepes went on a brutal campaign against Pablo Escobar, killing anyone associated with him and destroying Medellin cartel property. In the end, around 300 people were killed, from lawyers of Medellin cartel to his relatives.
Haha, frack you, mailbox. Pablo Escobar didn't see that one coming. Oh yeah. God damn it, Jerry. We told you this before. This is not what we do here. We don't go around breaking mailboxes.
Search Block and the US even had secret arrangements with Los Pepes to help each other, and even reports suggesting some Search Block members participating in the Los Pepes death squads. It was a cool day on the 2nd of December 1993 when Search Block blew open a door to a middle-class house and chased Pablo Escobar. Escobar tried to escape along the rooftops of adjoining houses but was hit in the leg and torso. He supposedly chose to take his own life rather than dying at the hands of the Search Block. And so, the tale of Pablo Escobar has now come to an end.
Oh, frack! He's in here! Quickly, spread out! Check under the bed!
Following his death, many of his properties and stuff were seized, including his animals, except for some hippos, who still remain in Colombia and multiplied over the years. Pablo Escobar was also said to have had secret stashes of millions hidden away, of which only some of it has been recovered. I wonder if he hid any of his money in the hippos. No one would even suspect that, just thrown some money in the hippos and bam, a walking safe that will not only maul anyone that comes close, but is incredibly tough. And I think there's a lesson we can learn from this, and that's not to mess with Big Daddy America.